Hello, this is Mr. Painter with another fabulous IXL tutorial. Today we're working on O7, find the missing angles and triangles. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our orientation here. We have three things that are open. We have our IXL open. To our right side, we have our definition. And the definition we need to know today is that all angles in a triangle must add up to 180 degrees. And last but not least, we also have open a calculator, because what we're going to do is often we're going to be given two angles and we need to figure out, well, what's the value of the last angle? All right, let's get started. Okay, taking a look at this beautiful purple triangle, because we have two angles. We have an angle of 53 and an angle of 30. Remember, all three sides have to add up to 180. So by taking the opposite, I can easily find what the remaining side is. So in my calculator, because all three sides add up to 180, so I'm going to go ahead and put in 180. Subtract out the two sides that we got. We're going to subtract out 53. And we're also going to subtract out 30. And this is just a Google calculator, by the way, nothing fancy. And that's going to give us a total of 97. And that's our missing side. So if you take 97 plus 53 plus 30, that's going to give us our definition up here. The sum of the angles of a triangle is always 180. All right, so let's go ahead and put 97 for our first missing angle to give us a smart score of 12. And so it continues. We're going to go ahead and reset the calculator. We got 180 degrees inside the whole triangle. 180 degrees inside the whole triangle. Subtract out 68. Subtract out 70. Will give us our missing side of 42. Next up, what is the measure of the missing angle here? So it continues. So we got 180 degrees in all three angles. And 180 degrees minus one quarter length of 29 minus another quarter length of 51 takes us to the missing side of 100. This is also an obtuse triangle. All right, same trend, clear off a calculator. We got 180 minus, by the way, this is a right angle triangle because we have a right angle of 90. So we're going to subtract out 90 minus 48. And that's going to take us to a missing side of 42. Two angles in a triangle measure 46 degrees and 86 degrees. What is the measure of the third angle? So notice here they didn't give us a triangle, but they're still giving us two angles. So it's the same thing. So we got 180 minus 46 minus 86. And that's going to take us to the third angle of 48. All right, next up, two angles of a triangle measure 90 degrees and 30 degrees. What is the measure of the third angle? So clear out the calculator, 180 degrees total minus 90 minus 30 will take us to an angle of 60. All right. Two of the angles in a triangle measure 8 degrees and 2 degrees. What is the measure of the third angle? Now, because these are very, very small angles, we should have a very large angle. So this is definitely going to be an obtuse triangle. So 180 minus 8 minus 2 is a triangle with 170 degrees. That is a monstrous obtuse triangle. All right. Clear off a calculator. Two of the angles in a triangle measure 136 degrees and 38. What's the measure of the third angle? All right. So 180 degrees minus 136 minus 38. It's going to leave us just with a very small amount of 6 degrees. So it's a very small angle. One angle in a right triangle measures 15 degrees. What is the measure of the other acute angle? Ooh, something happened here. They only gave us one measurement of 15 degrees. So now I have to look closely at the question and figure out, well, what am I missing here? So I'm going to read this one more time. One angle of a O. Here it is right here. Right triangle means it has a 90-degree angle in there. There's the other one that I'm looking for right there. So we got a 15 and a 90 to work with. So what's the measure of the other angle? All right, so remember, right triangles have 90 degrees in them. So I'm going to take my 180. I'm going to cut in half by subtracting 90. By the way, half of 180 is 90. So whenever you have a right triangle, it's already half. And that 90, subtract that last 15 degrees, is going to give us a missing angle of 75 degrees. So right triangle, 90 degrees. So if you want to see this in perspective, ignore that less than perfect triangle, but there's your 90 right there. You can make this one looks kind of big, so that's the 75, and here's the 15 here. So the triangle looks something like that. And we'll go ahead and submit that one. That one looks good. We will clear out the screen. All right. So we are doing excellent. Now, we're at a smart score of 70 with 9 questions answered, but it got a lot more difficult. So for your last 10 questions here, going up to 80, we got to figure out, well, what's the next step we're going to do here? So here we go. One angle of an isosceles triangle measures 80 degrees. What other angles could be in that isosceles triangle? Choose all that apply. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this one out to see what an isosceles triangle looks like. First of all, an isosceles triangle is a triangle that has two sides that are the same. Now, they're only telling us one angle is 80. So, first case scenario is we could have 80 here. And an isosceles triangle means there has to be another 80, and we could have an 80 here. So to find the last angle could mean subtracting out 180 minus one of the 80s and subtract out one of the other 80s. It's going to leave us with a missing side of 20. That's one scenario, so don't get excited yet. So one of the angles could be 80. Obviously, that's the one they gave us. Another angle could be a 20. Now, hypothetically, what if one of the 80s was the side by itself? So what we're going to do is, instead of putting 80 on the two congruent sides, what happens if we shift it over to up here? So now you're trying to find down here, because they're going to be different now. So in order to find that, we're going to take 180 degrees in a triangle, subtract it by 80, and divide by 2 to give it the 50-50 split down here at the bottom. So here we go. We got 180 minus 80 equals 100. That one worked out really nice. And 100 divided 2 is going to give us our last case scenario of 50 and 50. Because look, they still add up to 180, but there's two ways of putting the 80 because it's a scaling triangle. So we could also have a 50-degree angle that occurs in the triangle. Now, I don't see any way to get to 75 because there's only two triangles we can have. Put the 80 in the angle by itself, or we can put the 80 in the dual angles. All right, so 2 questions in one. Careful on this one, but this one should give us the right answer. So let's submit it and see how we did. Whew. 74, rocking and rolling. All right, we're going to go ahead and clear the screen. All right. An isosceles triangle has an angle measuring 130. Which other angles could be an isosceles triangle? So same concept. So I'm going to draw out my isosceles triangle. Never mind the beautifulness of my triangle. All right, 2 options. We could put the 130 right here. Let's try this. And if we have 130 here, we also have 130 here, which will give us our last missing side here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take 180 minus 130, subtract 130 to give us a non-existent angle of -80, which means 130 cannot go in the two congruent angles. So there's only one scenario for this one. And that scenario is that 130, actually let's try to draw it to proportion. I'm going to back it up. So let's go ahead and clear it. So this isosceles triangle has basically a big obtuse angle at the top, like this. So 130 is here. which means you have your 50-50 split down here. Remember, an isosceles triangle has two sides that are the same, therefore two angles that are also the same. So I'm going to clear the board. I got 130. What am I doing here? We got 180 total degrees in a triangle. Subtract out 130. And that's going to give us 50 degrees left for both angles. And because we're looking for two angles, we're going to take 50 divided by 2. And that's going to give us our missing two angles of 25. So in this particular triangle, the only single case that can occur is 25 degrees and the 100 degrees they gave us. There's no other way these can occur. So we're going to go ahead and give that a try. And where do we mess up? 25 and 130, choose all that apply. An isosceles triangle has two congruent angles. The measures of angles add up to, so the missing angles are 25 and 25. So this one is a case of not reading the question correctly. Which other angles could be in an isosceles triangle? IXL got me on this one. All right, let's rock and roll. We can go back, we'll recover it. This is an example of not being perfect, but hey, I'm not going to edit this out because everyone wants to see a mistake happen once in a while. All right, let's see, clear out. Where's my clear? Here we go. All right, a right angle has one angle that measures 70. What's the measure of the other acute angle? So remember, a right triangle has 90 degrees. So we're dealing with a 90 and a 70, not bad. So 180 minus 70 minus the 90 should leave us with 20 degrees left. So we're going to go ahead and put 20 degrees left in here. Bam. Perfect. All right. One angle of an isosceles triangle measures 100 degrees. So we're back on the isosceles triangle concept. All right. So we're going to draw out our isosceles triangles. And because we're talking about an obtuse triangle, this triangle isn't that great. So it would be actually better to draw it more like flat. Because an obtuse angle means a very wide opening. And here's our 100 degrees right here. So what is it asking for? This is the question I got stuck on last time. Because it's asking for which other angles. So obviously I don't want to pick the 100 again like I was before. All right, so here we go. 180 minus, so I want to be careful here. 180 minus 100 should take us to 80 left. And because it's two angles that are left, divide by 2, that's going to give us our 40-40 split. So this one here should be 40 degrees. So both these angles have to be 40 degrees. Okay, and it says which other angles. Man, my heart's racing. Please don't get this one wrong again. Thank goodness. All right. Clear the board, 76. All right. Where are we at? Okay, here we go. One angle of a right triangle measures 20 degrees. Okay, right triangle, 90 degrees. This one might be one of those easier ones. What is the measure of the other acute angle? Sweet. Take 180 minus 90 minus 20. So 180 in a triangle minus 90 minus 20 takes us to 70 degrees left. So that I can do 70. Perfect. And there we go. There's our smart score of 80. It took a little bit more effort because I didn't read the question correctly. But lesson learned, you're going to read the question carefully. Learn from my mistakes so you don't have to do extra work that you don't want to do. Besides that, this concludes the IXL tutorial for O7. Find the missing angles in a triangle.